My name's Robert Mahaffey. I'm the Executive Director of the Rural School and Community Trust and President of the organizations concerned about rural education, of which the American Farm Bureau is one of our active members.
Okay.
Patrick, you mentioned education.
Yes.
One of the great misconceptions across the country is the fact that they think the number of school children is decreasing across rural America. Actually, it's increasing more than any other segment or geography in our country. And we do a lot of reporting and research on that. And this school-age population is becoming much more diverse, a lot more English language learners. And we have a serious challenge in recruiting and retaining teachers and principals across rural America. Is this going to be a focus of these conversations with the candidates? Because we think it's a critical part of the rural landscape and rural communities and heritage.
I can promise you the very first question that's going to be asked of the very first candidate is just that. We plan on having an FFA member representative on site. In the past, we've done shows with both Secretary Johans and Secretary Vilsack when they were out promoting the farm bills, and we've always had FFA involved. In my remarks earlier, I think the first thing I mentioned was rural education. This is not just going to be an hour on agriculture. This is really going to be balanced with agriculture, rural development, rural health care, rural education, and all the issues that confront the small towns around this country. So, yeah, it's.
We'll hold you to it.
Well, you can. I'll tell you what. You can even write the first question if you'd like, and submit it to Orion, and we'll make sure that it's.
I will do that.
Nothing's more important to us. We've had a great relationship with FFA, with rural educators, ever since our inception. We carry the National FFA Convention every year, 30 hours live from their Louisville or Indianapolis headquarters. We've donated heavily. I think we made the largest single unrestricted donation to FFA. I don't usually tout our own horn, but we donated $1 million cash a few years ago and have continued to support them every year. So nothing's more important to us than the future of rural America. The future of rural America depends on education and farm. The one thing that we're most concerned about is the average age of a farmer is in their 60s. And there has to be another generation to take this off. And one of our jobs is to promote on our networks, both radio and TV, and get people to come back to rural America. If you want to be a great doctor and be one of the most respected people in the town, go to a small town. You don't have to work at, big cities need doctors too, but same with dentists, with lawyers, with educators. What a great place to raise your family, rural America. So. It's our job to start touting all these things and raise the level of awareness. Man, that was a long answer to a short question.
You're right. You wouldn't make it on radio.
Yes, sir.
Michael Klein with USA Rice and the Whole Grain. I'm wondering how you're going to deal with the ever-growing field of candidates, and will there be a threshold where you're cut off, and what are you going to do?
No, the one thing about us is we're not limited by time. The one thing we're rich in is time. They can have 20 more candidates announced. We don't care. But we're going to extend an invitation to everybody. And the one thing I didn't mention, the thing about our network and our news division, we're not Republican, we're not Democrat, we're not conservative, we're not liberal. We're right down the middle. We're focused on rural America and rural issues. And rural Americans are everything. We're not going to have a bias. We're going to try to create a positive atmosphere, as I mentioned before, but questions that are going to encourage discussion, not only during the presidential season, but hopefully it carries over with whoever gets elected to the White House.
Question?
Jim Mathis, NBC News. When it comes to the educational part of this, I mean, obviously the road to the White House comes through Iowa, but how important is it after we have our next president to continue the education on Capitol Hill when a lot of what you guys are talking about is going to happen via regulations?
Thank you for the question. That's why we've developed our own full-time news bureau here in Washington, D.C. Janet's job is to not only report on the issues that are important to rural America and agriculture on a daily basis, but to also be here as somebody that's working with all of the great farm organizations that are here, Farm Bureau and National Farmers Union and all the commodity organizations, the Ethanol Association. Rural America is made up of a lot of things. So, and there's one thing that unites all these people, especially in agriculture, is that we've got to do a better job of communicating with our urban neighbors and in Washington, D.C. And I really believe a program like Rural America Votes and Rural Town Hall is going to be a huge step in that direction.
Question?
I wanted to mention I mentioned the average age of the farmer is in their 60s and needs to be lower. So I got a good friend here, John Erickson, who owns another independent network that's like us, Retirement Living TV. So one of the things that we'll also focus on, just because of the age of rural America and so on, are senior issues. And hopefully John and his network will help us develop some good questions on that, on senior issues. And we're looking to also distribute that. John has great distribution in the urban areas on Time Warner and Comcast. So possibly we'll be making an announcement soon where his network will also be carrying these rural town hall broadcasts.